Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be exploring the sandbox cryptocurrency and the state in 2025 of this crypto blockchain project. The sandbox gained a lot of popularity and valuation during the 2020 and 2021 crypto bull run. During that cycle, we saw not only the sandbox, but many other top gaming crypto coins gaining significant valuation, including Gala Games, Decentraland, Axie Infinity, Ronin, and now we are in a new cycle in 2025 with even more gaming cryptos. And some of these gaming cryptos have other kind of crossover categories as well, such as staking abilities or AI capabilities. But in today's video, we're going to be really exploring the sandbox because we saw a massive rise in valuation from about 6 cents in 2020 all the way up to $6, which is a 100x. It actually went over 100x to $7 from 6 cents. But we'll just go with the $6 for easy math, okay? So yeah, we went from in 2020, 6 cents or 3 cents all the way up to $6, which depending on the math that you do is either 100x or 200x. Either way, this is huge numbers. We saw a lot of different altcoins actually doing 100x's from their cycle lows all the way to their cycle highs. But gaming in specific got a lot of attention because this was in line with the metaverse. I mean, remember, Facebook rebranded to Meta, and that was all about metaverse. Some argue that it was a complete and utter waste of a rebrand because metaverse didn't really catch on, and now really the conversation is AI. But now we're in 2025 in a new cycle, new users, new investors, and also kind of new environment. And Masari does these briefings on certain cryptos, and I thought that kind of going through some of their highlights about the sandbox crypto would give us a little bit of better insight into whether this is a good investment or not. And so in today's video, we're going to be exploring this. I'm going to give you guys my opinion. And again, these are just my opinions, so make sure you guys do your own research before you make investment choices, and don't make investment choices based on what I say. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys are subscribed, and also do me a favor, whether you're subscribed or not, give the video a thumbs up because crypto is not free, but thumbs up are always free, at least for now. Anyway, so this was released basically in April of 2025 by the Masari research team. And basically they talk about the Sandbox Q4 briefing. So the Sandbox is a social gaming metaverse platform where users play, create, monetize unique experiences alongside their favorite brands, IPs, and celebrities across gaming, entertainment, music, art, and more. The Sandbox leverages Web3 technologies to enable end user creation and creator economies, differentiating it from existing platforms by providing both players and creators with true ownership of their assets, creations, and rewards as NFTs. The tokenized gaming features within the sandbox are, we're going to go through that in a minute. But yeah, this was the huge kind of conversation back in 2021, right? NFTs were the craze. But the thing is, NFTs were really more the craze in non-functional use cases like JPEGs, right? But what they're talking about here is being able to carry your creations across different economies or ecosystems. For instance, if you're playing, let's say, Call of Duty, and you want to transfer your player skin or your player character to another game outside of Call of Duty ecosystem, let's say World of Warcraft, you can't do it. There's no interoperability between these games and the gaming ecosystems. And so, a lot of the conversation is how can you actually bring what you own across these ecosystems? And so in the Sandbox ecosystem, they have Sand. Sand is an ERC20 token and digital in-game currency used for purchases, monetization, and asset creation. And by the way, that is the Sandbox cryptocurrency, currently at 27 cents and a market cap of $672 million. And by the way, I have the data, so we're going to actually look at how many users are using this network and what the activity looks like, but we're going to get there in just a minute. So besides sand, they also have land, which is digital ownable land within the sandbox virtual world. You have an estate, a combination of lands to create a larger plot. Assets created by Vox Edit application. These assets are converted to ERC tokens once uploaded to the Sandbox marketplace. And they talk about avatars, catalyst, game maker, whatever. That stuff is not important. But the Sandbox operates digital real estate known as land NFTs, which serve as a foundation for interactive gaming, hosting metaverse experiences, and generating player activity. There are over 166,000 plots of land on the Sandbox map, the platform's virtual world grid, with each plot being 96 by 96 meters. These plots of land are NFTs that players can buy, sell, and use to create interactive experiences. Content creators use land to build immersive gaming experiences, social hubs, and more, as well as develop and showcase interactive content, making one of the most valuable NFT assets within the Sandbox ecosystem. And again, this was kind of all part of the metaverse, right? Buying this digital property and then building things in it, right? Experiences, um, social hubs, and all of that. In theory, it sounds great, but in production, it just really did not catch on the way that it needed to. And then, Apple released the Apple Vision Pro, which was complete ridiculousness, right? Who's going to be putting this thing on their head and walking through the streets in the metaverse? Like, nobody's doing that. Nobody's going to do that. Obviously, that's the first iteration. We'll see more iterations kind of laying out. But again, is anybody excited about the metaverse anymore? Does anybody want to do anything in the metaverse? I don't know. Now, this is in gaming as well. So it's a little bit different because it's in the gaming niche with this like metaverse upgrade to it, as an example. Anyway, the Sandbox was initially launched as a 2D mobile game in 2012 before rebranding to a 3D metaverse game in 2018. And so let's look at the metrics of the network. So the daily average sand that is staked on the network in Q4 of 2024 is 64 million, 6.18% of the supply. But you can see 1 year prior in 2023, there were 101 million sandbox coins staked on average. So what we saw from Q4 of 2023, a reduction, a reduction, a reduction, a reduction. Everything was reducing fairly substantially, almost by half. Daily average active non-land buyers. So non-land buyers would be the sand coin, I would imagine. And you can see it was in 2023 167, and now it's about 50. 50 active land buyers a day. 50. There's 8 billion people in the world. But let's understand a little bit more about the actual network activity. So on Footprint Analytics, they have these dashboards for the Sandbox. And you can see, the trading volume substantially lower. Back in 2021, we were at $5 billion of daily trading volume. And now the trading volume was, what is that, $60 million? So a substantial reduction. The sum of the number of active users on Sandbox, you can see during the 2021 and 2022 peak, it was in still relatively low numbers, right? The 1,400 active users a day range. And now you can see in March, it was basically 2 to 300 a day out of 8 billion people in the world. So very, very low usage or very, very low number of users. This could literally be just the developers on the network. And that is a concern. It's not just Sandbox. There's a lot of other ecosystems that after the bull run, they just lost a lot of their users, their user base, meaning they lost their volume, they lost their trading activity, they lost the valuation in their coin, right? And so how can a coin be worth $670 million and they have 150 people on the chain every day? It's just very, very low, at least in my view as an analyst. And again, these are just my opinions. I'm literally here sitting, drinking coffee, talking to you guys about my analysis of the Sandbox. I'm not saying whether it's a good or bad investment at this point. I'm just kind of giving you guys my unbiased opinion of this. You can see here, this is a number of transactions per day. And you can see during the peak in 2021 and 2022, we were in the thousands and thousands range, right? Anywhere from 500 to 5,000 transactions per day. Now, it looks like in March, it looked like around 3 to 500 transactions per day. Per day. So if you divide that by 24 hours, it's about 10 transactions per hour. Do 10 transactions per hour translate to a $700 million valuation? I don't know. You got to look at it compared to other blockchains also with similar kind of ecosystems: Mana, UFO, Axie Infinity, and Alice. And you can see here that Sandbox is still much higher. I don't think I can zoom in. Maybe I can. But you can see that the orange line is the Sandbox. And Sandbox, let's see if it's going to come up. I don't know if it is. This website is very slow. But yeah, you can see that the orange line, which is Sandbox, is pretty much at the top. So Sandbox is really the leader when it comes to market cap of these coins. And I mean, even if you go to the gaming section on Coin Market Cap, you can see that the Sandbox is the third highest market cap coin, or sorry, I should say fourth, with Gala coming in, and then Form and IMX. I don't know what Form is. I know what Gala and IMX are. But, in future videos, I can definitely go and explore the Gala Games network and the Immutable X network and kind of compare what their network activity looks like compared to these other top gaming platforms like the Sandbox. Anyway, moving right along, financial analysis, we can see that the market cap of Sandbox from Q4 of 2023 to Q4 of 2024 basically stayed the same and actually increased a little bit, which is good. We went from 40 cents to 44 cents. So it basically stayed almost steady, which is typical bear market activity for the markets, at least for the altcoins. Now it says by the end of Q4 of 2024, the Sandbox grew to a circulating market cap of $1.32 billion, with an increase of 105% quarter over quarter. The Sands token, did basically the same thing. This says primary land sales volume increased 203% quarter over quarter. And that makes sense, right? Q4 was a lot of activity in the markets. Q3, we didn't really have. That was kind of like the bottom for the year. And then Q4 is when pretty much the markets went up, right? The Trump pump. And that's what we see here with land sales increasing. But they immediately came right back down, right? It was literally just from the Trump pump and everything came back down. We see this across the board in the cryptos from the end of 2024 into early 2025. And so, yeah. There are 6 type of primary sales in the Sandbox: public non-land sales, public land sales, private land sales, private estate sales, private auctions, and public auctions. And so that's kind of where the volume is coming from. You can see that the percent of Sandbox coins circulating supply that is staked dropped 43%. Again, that could be due to some of the higher prices that we saw at the end of 2024, where people were selling into that pump. That's definitely possible. You can see that, I mean, even over the 1 year, we went from 22 cents all the way up to 94 cents. So basically a 5x. I would imagine that's kind of where most of the unstaking and selling came from, because some of these people were in the coin probably for years and they probably just wanted to get out, which kind of makes sense. Moving right along, we can see daily active non-land buyers remain dominant in Q4. Again, same situation. Q4 was when we saw most activity and most price movements. And so they talk about some of the other releases here, but what I keep going back to is the usage. It's the usage. Because at the end of the day, when we look at the top gaming coins, or even just the top cryptocurrencies that there are, it's very important to keep in mind there is so much competition this cycle. And as I've been saying in my recent videos, this cycle is different. There's a lot more coins, a lot more competition, a lot more narratives and categories and niches that are trying to gain market share. In my view, I don't know that gaming is going to gain market share in this cycle as much as we've seen other categories like AI or real world asset type platforms. And I did believe so back in 2024 and even maybe 2023 that we would see a gaming cycle this year or this halving cycle, but we haven't seen it just yet. And not just with the sandbox, but with all these different cryptos. But again, as I've said on my other videos for some of the top cryptocurrencies out here, we got to look at the fundamentals. And the fundamentals on the sandbox chain, to me, it's not just sandbox, it's pretty much all the gaming platforms. They hopped on this narrative from last cycle about, you know, gaming and metaverse, and it just did not catch on, right? The difference between like Facebook and rebranding and going after the metaverse and spending literally tens of billions of dollars on the metaverse, and we have no product. The difference between them and a crypto is Sandbox's whole design is based on this gaming ecosystem and metaverse ecosystem. And granted, it may still grow, but they haven't gotten large scale integrations into traditional games, right? One would think that these ecosystems would be trying to go after something like Grand Theft Auto, which is going to have years and years of use, could potentially be used for blockchain or blockchain integrations for in-game stuff, and none of them have pursued it, right? At least that we know of. And so when I look at usage like this, where there's a few hundred users a day, and there's a few hundred transactions a day, that's not scalable, right? Is it investable? Well, it depends what your risk tolerance is, and not only what your risk tolerance is, but your time frame for that risk tolerance. Because it could take a lot longer for Sandbox to reclaim its all-time record highs, because these all-time record highs were just based on speculation on the technology. We're years later, and yeah, the technology may have improved and advanced, but nobody's using it. And it's not just Sandbox, right? I'm going to be doing these videos on other gaming ecosystems as well. Nobody's using them. The same thing that Facebook or Meta had to realize, like they're spending tens of billions of dollars and nobody cares about the metaverse, right? I'm not saying nobody. Obviously, there's a few hundred people who are working on this. But it's really at this point, these ecosystems to succeed, in my view, they need to have high level Wall Street like integrations on the back end where the blockchain is basically running, the in-game items or in-game, sales and purchases and all of that and keeping track of it. And users don't even know that the sandbox or whatever other blockchain is using blockchain technology. Some of these other ecosystems are trying to do this, but again, Axie Infinity, we found out last cycle, out of 10 validators, half of or more than half of them were the development company. So how much of Axie Infinity's quote unquote usage was actually real versus not real? And if we look at the actual usage of the network from, the 2020 cycle to now, we'll probably see that it's going to be very similar to Sandbox where nobody is using it. And so, from my perspective, from my investment thesis and strategy, right now, Sandbox is not an investable crypto. I'm not saying it's going to go down in valuation. Just uninvestable means that I believe that there's other better options in the market or better categories of crypto in the market. It's the same thing in the stock market, right? If I say now is a good time to buy Tesla, it doesn't matter what my political view of a company that's selling cars is. I'm looking at the fundamentals. I'm looking at the company. I'm looking at the growth. I'm looking at the ability to implement, self-driving AI technologies and stuff like that. And I'm saying, is this investable or is this not investable? Is, NVIDIA and the whole chip industry, is this investable or is this just hype? It's the same thing in crypto. And for me, the sandbox, and generally speaking, all of the AI gaming and metaverse cryptos from last cycle, they're just not investable this cycle because they haven't, many of them have just not gotten to a level. I mean, all of them could have implemented AI integrations over the last few years, or like I said, partnered with actual gaming companies to integrate, and they haven't done it. And so, yeah, do you think that the sandbox is going to actually hit all-time record highs, or do you think that it's done? I'd love to let you guys let me know down below in the comments. Do you agree with my analysis that for my portfolio, it's not investable at this time? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know down below in the comments. And while you're down there, don't forget to give the video a free thumbs up. And everybody who does leave a super chat, thank you so much for the support. Or you can click the join button down below to learn more about becoming a channel member. I'll see you when I see you. Invest responsibly and crypto on.